Hi all, my name is Katie Boothby-Kung, and I'm the host of Talking Purpose, a podcast where we dive deep into what it takes to build an epic, sustainable, and social impact brand. I fell in love with the idea of social entrepreneurship in university when I started my first small batch skincare social enterprise. From there, I was able to build social entrepreneurship tools and programs at Shopify, and now I'm the director of sustainability at a thriving digital agency called Creative Currency. During this journey, I've learned two things. Sustainability in business can be intimidating, and talking about it is tough. On this podcast, I'll interview experts in social entrepreneurship and brand building so that you have the tools and tricks you need to grow your purpose-driven business. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Talking Purpose, the podcast, where we talk all about sustainable brand building. In each episode, I have the pleasure of chatting with an expert in sustainable business, be it a social entrepreneur, marketing wizard, or a sustainable operations consultant. There is so much to learn, and we are so happy that you have decided to hit listen, join us today, and we hope that you'll join us for more to come. In today's episode, we have the opportunity to hear from Krissie Leyland, the co-founder at Mindful Commerce, a community for impact-driven e-commerce brands. She's also the founder of Kollectify, a brand and content marketing agency based in the UK. In this episode, we chat with her about her 6 steps to being a more sustainable brand, aligning your purpose with your brand and audience, and mitigating your digital carbon footprint. You'll also have a chance to learn more about the Mindful Commerce community and how they're helping sustainable businesses grow, and how you can join and get more involved and learn from others. So I hope you enjoy this episode. If you do, please give us a review so more people can find us and our sustainability resources. For now, enjoy the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We are so excited to have Krissie Leyland here with us. She is the wonderful co-founder of Mindful Commerce, also founder of Kollectify. So she wears multiple hats, but has a huge passion for sustainability and sustainability in e-commerce specifically. And so we are so happy to have her with us here today. Hi, Krissie.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting.
Oh, this is wonderful to have you. And I mean, I was on your podcast once upon a time, and so it's nice to have you here. This is exciting.
This is great. Yeah, it's like a swap.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. And Krissie, where are you calling us from?
I'm from the UK, so I'm in North Devon by the sea, which is very relevant because it's the big reason why I love sustainability, because it helps to protect the ocean.
Oh, I love that. That's so great. Well, in terms of, talking about sustainability and how you got into it, like, tell us how you got to where you are now, and what has been your journey to getting to Mindful Commerce and building it.
Yeah, definitely. So I've always lived in the countryside. So I've always been immersed in nature. My parents have helped me to really appreciate being in the outdoors and just playing in nature, really. And fast forward to like 2014, I began blogging and writing about inspiring entrepreneurs that were local to me, so in Devon, who are in the outdoor surf industry. And then shortly after this, it kind of turned into my own Shopify store back in 2014-15. And I was kind of like selling handmade beach-related products from individual brands in the UK, and many of whom I had been writing about on the blog. So it kind of connected my love of nature, entrepreneurship, and helping smaller brands to grow their business on a marketplace kind of setup. And I called it Krissie, as in KRISSEA, so had the C in there. And then and then basically I realized that Shopify, or just any platform, can provide entrepreneurs with these different lifestyles, and they can live a flexible life and enjoy their environment more often. And I just fell in love with e-commerce. It's just really accessible, and it's great. And then fast forward again, my marketplace wasn't really making enough money to live on. So I joined an e-commerce agency as a content marketing manager, because I really enjoyed, the writing, the marketing and the branding side of things, and fell in love with e-commerce even more. The technology basically blew my mind, and I really enjoyed writing valuable content. And then from that, I decided, right, I want to write more. So I became a freelance writer for e-commerce tech companies, including Shopify apps, because I kind of preferred the tech side and translating tech jargon. And that became Kollectify, which is the agency that you mentioned. And I love my team at Kollectify, but I did kind of recognize the fact that e-commerce isn't always great for the environment. And as a passionate surfer and lover of nature, I wanted to change that. So I believe that e-commerce really can be part of the solution, and mindful commerce is the result of that. So yeah, that's quite a long one.
Wow, no, that's wonderful. I love that. You have had a very interesting journey to get where you are, but it seems like it was always like a North Star for you in some way. And so it was calling you to start mindful commerce.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell us, what is mindful commerce? Tell us more about it, and how is it helping sustainable brands grow and scale?
Oh my goodness, mindful commerce is the best thing in the world. I decided that, like I said, recognized that e-commerce wasn't always great. So my way of kind of combating that or helping others is to connect the e-commerce brands with the experts who can help them to grow, but in the most sustainable way, and also the most ethical way. And the name mindful commerce kind of just comes from, helping people to be mindful while growing their business. So we have a community and an educational hub for anyone who's involved in the e-commerce world. So whether you're a tech company, a service provider, or a merchant, this is for you to kind of come and learn about how you can grow with our live trainings, our networking meetups, and yeah, it's just great. We've also got a sustainability course and loads more fun stuff.
Amazing. I love hearing the passion in your voice. That's wonderful.
I love it.
Here. So you wrote a chapter in an e-commerce ebook called the Sustainable E-commerce Handbook. And you wrote about the 6 steps to being a more sustainable brand. So maybe let's take a good chunk of time to kind of walk through these 6 steps and why they're so important for brand building.
Definitely. So that was great. That was perfect. So thank you to Black and White Zebra for allowing me to post a little chapter. But the chapter was based on our sustainability framework, like I mentioned a second ago. And we've got 6 core pillars, which is, basically 6 steps to being a more sustainable brand. And so we have mindful business. I'll go through them all separately. We have mindful business, mindful footprint, mindful sourcing, mindful deliveries, and mindful communications. So mindful business is all about the way that you do business. So it's like the groundwork that you need to do first. So setting the foundations for a sustainable business. It's where you define your values, set really clear goals for how you want to be presented or positioned as a brand. It's where you eliminate any problematic business practices that don't align with this new direction. So if you're changing to be more sustainable, it's where you kind of cut out the so-called bad bits that don't align anymore. And then, so mindful footprint is all about reducing your carbon footprint. So you kind of step back from your products and look at the broader operational impact of your business and the way it runs on a day-to-day basis. And this can include your physical carbon footprint and also your digital carbon footprint, which we'll probably talk a bit more about later. And then mindful sourcing is obviously about how you source your products, that could be products that you're really proud of, and kind of explore the opportunities to get customers more invested in the origin of your products. And it also touches on deliveries, which is how you can represent a great opportunity for improvement when it comes to immediate visibility. So, for example, if you're thinking about reducing emissions when it comes to delivery, you can think about offering less of next day deliveries, because this usually means traveling by air. And it's also about reducing the amount of packaging so that you use to deliver the products to your customers, and how you can reduce returns, because that has a huge impact on the planet. And
okay, so deliveries include all three of those facets. Okay, awesome.
Oh, you what?
Sorry. I said deliveries include all three of those facets: the packaging, the shipping method, and the reducing returns. Yeah, no, that's great. Sorry to cut you off. Keep going. You're on a roll.
Sorry, I thought I missed something. And then the sixth pillar is mindful communications. So this is all about talking about the things that you're doing in terms of sustainability and your ethics. And by doing that, you're not only getting your brand some well-deserved recognition, but you're also helping to inspire other brands to follow in your footsteps and to keep educating your customers. So a good example of this is, like, if your packaging is sustainable and recyclable, emphasis on the recyclable word, then you need to communicate that, because if your customers don't know that it is, then they might just put it in the bin and it won't be recycled. So yeah, that's it.
No, that's great. I mean, it seems like it touches everything. And for the listeners, I'll link to the article so they can have a closer look at those if they're thinking about, some of these things that they need to include in their business and their brand building. But yeah, I love how, you talk about the operational side of things, and, in a vacuum, it's packaging or it's shipping, but at the end, when you talk about that communications piece, it's it all builds up to this brand that you're building, this sustainable brand, and the story that you have to tell, and the responsibility and the transparency that you need to provide to your customers. So I think that that's really wonderful.
Yeah, 100%. I think the communication piece is almost more important, like the most important, because if you're doing all these really good things, you have to tell your customers, because if they don't know, they won't relate in a way. So like conscious consumers may not relate. And yeah, transparency is super important.
Yeah, no, that's I like how you delivered all six of those steps. I think, yeah, and kind of like tie it off with a bow in terms of like, okay, now that you've done all these things, you have to go tell people. Don't just like sit in your office and talk to one another. You have to tell everybody. So on to the customer, like, why is your customer base and audience so important when you're building your sustainable brand and mission?
Well, your customers are what help you to even have a business in the first place, and make sure that it is sustainable in terms of it's actually going to exist, because without them, you won't turn a profit. But I think getting to know your customers, like on a really deep level, is super important, because you can then understand their biggest challenges, their interests, their wants and desires, and position your brand as a solution to their problems. So, for example, if you own a brand and you offer sustainable dog food, you're going to appeal to the conscious dog owner and solve the challenge of finding a sustainable product for their dog. But, if you're not tapping into what your customers want, you won't make any sales. And if you do have this differentiator of, I'm offering a sustainable alternative, it is super important to talk about that in your mission and in your brand story. So, like, why did you decide to create a sustainable dog food brand? Because I have a dog and I care about the environment. So that is going to resonate with your ideal customer, and they are much more likely to feel like they can trust you and understand you and be loyal and buy from you because they're like, oh my goodness, these people are solving my problem. And yeah, just communicate your why, and also the how. So how is it sustainable, and how is that going to help them to live a more sustainable lifestyle, and also the dog.
gotta remember the dogs. They're the most important. No, that's such a good point. And I see this time and time again with brands who are looking to develop their sustainable mission. And they do it separate of their customer and audience, which is so strange. They do it as almost like a very corporate exercise where, oh, we're going to donate to this community. And their reason never trickles down to it's because it's important to our customers. I've seen that happen a lot. Or, the donation piece or things like that, that's tied to a product, it's not related to their brand in any way. And so it seems unbalanced when they then share it. It has nothing to do with their products. It's like your dog food brand donating money to, I don't know, like a kid's camp.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Other than maybe it's personal to the owner. And so, yeah, I think that when you're building this brand, the customer base is so important to that as well. And really understanding, like you said, what are their desires? And a lot of that comes down to what do they care about and what sustainability missions are important to them. And so, with this dog brand, obviously, feeding them sustainable food that's good for the environment is important to these dog owners. And so, yeah, that's super important. So thank you for sharing that. And so you talk a lot, when you and I first met, I think this is when we first started talking about digital environmental footprints, and something that I hadn't even considered, or it never even crossed my mind. So, and you talk about how it has an environmental impact, our digital footprint. So why should brands be thinking about this? Why is this important? And have you seen any good examples of brands doing this currently?
Yes. Oh my God. This is a huge topic. And actually, yeah, this is what led me down the rabbit hole. A guy called Jerry McGovern's talked to me and Rich, my co-founder, about it. And it's insane. You don't think about it because you think, oh, because I've got a digital business, I sell online, it's all in the cloud, it's all fluffy, it's fine, nothing, apart from your products, you feel like you don't have as bigger impact as brick and mortar stores. But you do. Unfortunately, you do. So although our online activity might seem like it has no consequences, data has to be stored somewhere. And the data centers that fulfill this purpose are physical and power hungry. So it takes a lot of energy to provide a hosting service or hosting your website on big servers. Mostly because they've got these big air conditioning units to keep it cool so it doesn't set on fire. So as an e-commerce retailer, your digital carbon footprint is fueled from multiple sources like your website, photos on your website, videos, additional sales channels, data storage, social media, it goes on. But the good news is you can reduce that quite easily, which is why I think e-commerce can be part of the solution to tackle climate change when it comes to what we buy and stuff like that. So how can you reduce your carbon footprint? You can do this by, I'm going to go into quite a bit of detail here. Stop me if I'm rambling. You compress everything. So the images on your website, CSS, JSS, everything like that. Only use video if you think it will really aid informed purchase decisions. Turn off autoplay with your videos because that just zaps loads of energy from the earth. Consider using illustrations instead of images. Like organic basics, for example. This is going on to the examples. demos this beautifully on their low carbon website. Not only are they a sustainable brand, they're also, you know, they're leading the charge when it comes to having a low impact website. And yeah, so they've got a website that literally just has illustrations of their products because they know it's lower impact. And yeah, so email is probably the most shocking thing. Has 4 grams of a carbon footprint, and that's without attachments. But when you attach something, it can go to like 50 grams of your carbon footprint. So use SMS, like, you know, if you're using omni-channels, you can hone in on SMS a little bit more than emails. Digital are a sustainable email provider, by the way. They're the better option. And yeah, I'm gonna stop there. But if you want more examples, just email me and I can help you to lower your website's impact.
Yeah, no, listeners, Krissie, this has been her spiel in a good way. It's like part of your personal brand. Like, this is one of those issues that is near and dear to your heart. And, you know, there's not enough people thinking about this by any means. And I agree with you. People think that they're hosting a service business online and that they have no digital footprint because they're just sending PDFs or what have you. But obviously it does have a significant impact on the environment. So just to recap some of the examples for the listeners, you know, compress all of your files, only use videos that you think are necessary and will actually convert customers, use illustrations instead of pictures. And because email can be very carbon intensive, use SMS when you're connecting with your customers, if that's an option that you have. So, and obviously, you know, I'll link to Krissie's contact information at the end. So if you want any more information, I'm sure she can talk to you for hours about how you can make your online store and operations a lot more carbon neutral, or low carbon rather. It would be nice to have it carbon neutral, but baby steps perhaps. So in terms of brands that are, you know, all around just, you know, really crushing it in terms of sustainability storytelling, and sharing those stories with their customers, be it their, you know, their digital footprint or their packaging and things like that. You know, you're a storyteller yourself. And so who's doing a really good job, and what can listeners look to as really good examples?
Yeah, so oh my goodness, so many. But I'm going to go to my absolute favorite brand. They're local to me in the southwest of England, and they are obviously surf related brand, and they're called Finisterre. Their brand story is just incredible. It's all over the website, you know, communicating their sustainability values. But not only that, I love that they have quite obviously spent a lot of time listening to their customers. So I know from just being a customer, they have a repair service, which is incredible, because you can just you've got a hole in your jacket, send it back, they'll repair it, they'll send it back. And also they've got a resale scheme now, so you can, as a customer, resell a product that you've bought from them, and they will basically, as a customer, you get the money, but the brand continues the brand story because it is on their website, the secondhand store. Katie, you know a lot about this. And then also Mud jeans, they are great because their jeans are made out of sustainable materials. They use less water, but they also rent their jeans out. So you kind of like take them for a bit. When you've used them for long enough, you want to switch it up a bit, send them back, and they'll resell and they'll re-rent them out, rather than you just binning it, or, well, no one would ever do that if you're conscious. And rather than it ending up in landfill, it will just be a nice circular, what do you call it? a nice circular brand they are. Pukka herbs, also, I like to refer to them because they're not only sustainable and organic teas, they also are a regenerative brand because they run regenerative projects, agriculture projects that build farmer knowledge and mitigate the effects of climate change whilst improving their yields to make more tea. So they're not only like leaving no trace, they're also leaving the environment better than they found it. So they're giving back to where their business is working out of. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great brands. And you touched on something that unfortunately we won't be able to get to in this podcast, but you know, that the growth of resale and what that means for your brand story, and also just, you know, being able to own the resale of your clothes rather than relying on a third party that where you don't have control of your brand and how it's displayed and things like that. You know, we saw it started with luxury retail and then wanting to crack down on resale and fraud. But, you know, if you want to own that portion of your brand as well and how it's displayed in the resale market, you know, that's something to think about when you're thinking about circularity and being more sustainable. But again, something for another day. We'll have to talk about that. Yeah. So if a listener was to do one thing to improve their brand's sustainability effort and brand story, what would you suggest? If they were to get off this podcast and do something immediately, what would be something they could do?
Talk to your customers, ask them what they want, especially if they're a conscious consumer. And ask them what they want in terms of sustainability. If you're already providing it and they didn't know, you need to talk about it. So website, social media, on your packaging, all that good stuff. And if you're not, then you can communicate that you plan to and show that you've listened to their needs and their desires. So you'll connect with your audience more. They'll be like, oh, they actually care. They want my opinion. And they care that you care. So that will then, on its own, lead probably to more loyalty and sales and more of a solid brand positioning.
Yeah, that's great. Go do a storytelling audit on your website. Make sure that you're sharing those sustainability nuggets all throughout your online store and any of your online assets for sure. Krissie, do you have any final thoughts or tips for our listeners today before we sign off?
Yeah, I was just going to say, when I was talking about, you know, send fewer emails and send fewer tweets or whatever, at the end of the day, it's just all about balance. So I'm not saying don't send any. Obviously, you need to communicate your message, but it's all about being mindful and making sure that every message has meaning and it's going to result in something good. And anyway, that means that you'll feel less pressured to be posting on social media all the time. So for example, we've just like took a stand and said, no, we're not doing it every day. We're just going to do it maybe every week, every 2 weeks, doesn't matter. But yeah, I'm just saying, be mindful, join the community, mindfulcommerce.io/join-the-community, and download our framework. We've got a free chapter, and listen, learn, and inspire others. That's what I have to say.
I love it. Those are great words of wisdom at the end. Thank you, Krissie. Yeah, we'll link everything in the show notes for Mindful Commerce. It's a wonderful community, really welcoming, wonderful folks in there, all there to lend a hand and to help. And, you know, everyone's there to lift each other up, which is really wonderful. But yeah, so thank you, Krissie. This has been really excellent. I mean, I'm sure our listeners were taking lots of notes, and if they missed anything, there's lots of resources that you've pointed them to. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's been so much fun.
Thank you all for listening. If you're interested in learning more about social entrepreneurship and building a sustainable brand, I invite you to head over to sustainabilityco.me. for more episodes and valuable resources to help you launch and amplify your purpose-driven brand. Resources range from supply chain help to impact storytelling and marketing tools. If you'd like to chat one-on-one, drop me a line. I always love hearing from listeners and other sustainable businesses. In the words of the past Layla Jana, make it your business to figure out what good needs to be done in the world and then do it. Talk soon.